I'm going to go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody to our volunteer training, our outreach call volunteer training. I'm really grateful that you all were able to make it. We nearly have a full house today. I'm Ann David. I'm the director of the clinic here at Jewish Family Services. I'll be your main facilitator for the training today. Before we get started, Robin from Women's Philanthropy would like to welcome you all as well. Robin?
Thanks, Ann. I just wanted to personally thank all of the Women's Philanthropy volunteers for being here today, volunteering for this really important program. And I hope it's a meaningful experience for you all. I want to thank Ann and Louise and Krista for putting together, and I haven't met the new associate, but Jessica, but thank you for putting this very important program together so quickly and so comprehensively. And I look forward to it continuing and growing. Thanks, Ann.
Yep, thank you. And just so you know, during the training, I'm going to push mute all. So if you do have a question and need to come on, or during the breakout rooms, you'll need to unmute yourselves. All right. All right, let me bring up my presentation here. Okay. So the program that you're receiving a training on today is the Older Jewish Adult Outreach Services Project. This is a volunteer-led initiative to support older adults during the COVID-19 crisis. And I say during the COVID-19 crisis, even though today practically marks 1 year since we've been in the middle of the pandemic, because what we're seeing in the clinic, what we're seeing at JFS, what we're seeing in our families is the accumulation of stress and isolation throughout the past year continues to adversely impact and exponentially is impacting some adults who are older in our community. And so the purpose of this initiative is to reach out to older adults, to check in on them, see what their wellness is, and also to offer services that might help mitigate some of the impact of social isolation during the COVID pandemic, and also offer additional services available, which we'll cover today. Again, thank you all for volunteering to be a part of this endeavor. There's a lot of people that are going to benefit from these outreach calls, and seeing that we have 25 volunteers immediately sign up in this past month to help the older adults in our community and fulfill our obligation to them has been really overwhelming and really, really positive. Definitely one of the highlights for me in terms of the direct services that I provided during the pandemic. So thank you all for being here. The purpose of this project is to reach out to older Jewish adults through phone calls to explore their social service needs, to refer older adults receiving calls for services based on their express needs in that phone call, and then also to offer an opportunity for social connection to adults receiving these calls. In order to be eligible to receive a call, an adult must be 65 years or older and have a connection with the Milwaukee Jewish Federation. The staff that are going to be supporting you throughout this volunteer-led initiative are here. I've introduced myself. I'm Ann David. I helped put together the program manual and the volunteer handbook that you'll be receiving following your training today. One more person. And then also will be available for consultation and support to Jessica and you all throughout the course of the project. And then I'm going to ask Krista and then Jessica to come on and introduce themselves as well.
Hi, everyone. I have already spoken with most of you, but I am Krista. I'm the Volunteer Services Manager here at JFS, and I will be the one, going through your applications, getting you onboarded, making sure you have all the tools you need to hit the ground running in just a couple weeks here.
And I'm Jessica Laughlin. I'm the Outreach Coordinator. I'm pretty much going to be your main contact throughout this program. If you have any questions, need any help with any of the paperwork, any way of documenting any information you got, just please reach out via email or phone call. My phone is always on me.
All right. And then the other person that you'll have contact with may be Adrian, our clinical receptionist here at Jewish Family Services at our Jackson Street office location. Some of the forms that we're using, all of them are available electronically through Word or Excel. For those of you that have a preference to use paper forms for picking up your call list and dropping it off, Adrian will be able to help you here at Jewish Family Services. All right. So outreach calls. When I say outreach calls, what are they and what are they not? So some basics when performing these outreach calls. An outreach call is informative. It's a social call to seniors that inquire about needs. So we're calling folks, asking them how they're doing, and asking open-ended questions about what needs they may have. An outreach call is also an opportunity for a senior to receive information about those services. So there are some brief descriptions about services that are available to them that you can provide. An outreach call is also an opportunity for two people to connect over the phone, especially with the senior call recipient receiving primary attention. So lots of focus on how they're doing, what interests them in order to benefit them during the call. What outreach calls are not is social work case management services. So we are providing information and referral, which is a component of case management, but that's kind of where it ends. There's no need to evaluate further needs, continue to ask follow-up questions to see, to kind of weed out a specific need that they have further. And then outreach call is not about then setting a goal for that person to address that need. It's really kind of stops where we provide information and referral. An outreach call is also not therapy. So as volunteers and staff providing these calls, we want to be careful to provide advice or directives. So people will be talking to you about your needs, and it's going to be a really natural thing to respond with, well, I know what you might be able to do about that. If it's outside of the information and referral services that we're providing to them, try to stay away from advice giving or directives to older adults outside of the information on the script. Outreach calls are not about the volunteer. And what that means is we've all been going through the pandemic. We all have family members who are adults who might, when you're calling people in the community, you might really resonate with their story. It's going to be natural to want to disclose and really connect and share. So a certain amount of disclosure is natural in order to connect. But if the nature of the call, the balance of it starts to tip towards really opening up to the adult about your experiences, that's kind of where that boundary starts to tip to being about the volunteer. Although certainly with the focus on the senior, we really think that everyone on this call, on this training, is going to get something out of participating as a volunteer and helping our older adults. All right. So your outreach call volunteer duties. And I just want to note here as well that all of the information in this training is also included in your volunteer handbook that's going to be mailed to you this week. So all of the slides will also be, the slide deck will be sent to you, but you'll also be receiving a 28-page volunteer handbook that really fleshes out a lot of these, this information and responsibilities as well. The highlight of your volunteer duties are as follows: to complete assigned calls to call recipients in a timely manner. You'll get a list of calls to complete, and timely manner means once every 2 weeks, more or less. And we'll talk more about how those the calls get batched as well. Your duty is to treat older adults with kindness, consideration, and respect at all times. Volunteers should be comfortable with asking both direct questions, like, are you feeling isolated? Would friendly calls be helpful? So yes, no questions, and also open-ended questions. As you'll see, the call script starts with an open-ended question of, tell me a little bit about, how these times might have been challenging for you or some needs you might have. In addition to that, volunteers should have the ability to organize themselves and provide information and referral contacts. So while you're having an engaged conversation with the adult that you're on the call with, there also is going to be some information that you'll be tracking regarding the services that they need and some additional notes. So ability to be engaged while occasionally taking notes is a good skill to have. Volunteers should be able to recognize possible concerns and report concerns to the outreach coordinator. Broadly, by concerns, we mean potential for elder abuse or neglect that might be going on, medical emergencies, some suspicion that there might be some dementia or early cognitive decline going on. So volunteers should be able to recognize some possible concerns that we'll go over in more depth, and then report those to Jessica, our outreach coordinator. Comply with confidentiality. This is important to maintain the bond of trust that we have to all of our program participants. The understanding is that you're going to get a list of calls with first name and phone number. But as things come up as volunteers and as JFS volunteers on that call, there is a confinement of confidentiality regarding what is shared with you. What that means is that when an adult is sharing with you nature of what they're going through, even services they need, all of that, we cannot identify that information with the person outside of JFS staff. So you can talk to Jessica about certain needs or concerns that come up. You can talk to me about that. There will be bi-weekly consultation groups where all volunteers are welcome to attend. You can bring it up during that. But then outside of the call, the conversations with project staff or those bi-weekly consultation group, information cannot be shared. Another responsibility is to let Jessica know if you can, within 7 days if you're not able to continue being a volunteer. That'll give her the time to reassign calls to other volunteers. All right. So how are you going to get assigned older adults to call? The main way you're going to do that is following this orientation, especially after practicing the script and getting a sense for what the service is that you'll be providing. You're going to reach out to Jessica to establish your call capacity. So about how many hours every 2 weeks that you'll be providing some volunteer supports in this project. Jessica will use that information to create a batch of calls. So that call batch that you receive will take into account how many hours that you're thinking you're going to be able to volunteer every 2 weeks. After that, Jessica will send you an Excel document that will go over that fits about the capacity that you have over the next 2 weeks to volunteer. So if you only have a capacity for about 4 hours every 2 weeks, we won't be giving you 15, 20 older adults to call. We're going to match that more around 6 to 8 calls to make, taking into account that some people might not be able to respond. Some calls will be shorter, some calls will be longer. And we'll kind of watch that as we go too. After you receive your call batch, that Excel document, or when you get that call batch, you'll notice that it has the first name, the age, and the phone number of the adults that you're scheduled to call. That's all the information you need in addition to the script to go ahead and begin doing those calls. When you perform those calls will be during allowable times, which we'll go over in the next slide. So there's certain times of day where calls can occur and other times where it's going to be too early or too late. As you're doing your calls, you're going to track the results on your call batch log. And then when you're done, when you've either spoken to everyone on the list or you've made 2 attempts with no answer to all people on the list, then you return your spreadsheet back to Jessica, our outreach coordinator, and receive your next batch of calls. At that time, it's always a good time to bring up any concerns, or if you can do more calls or less, that's a good time to kind of titrate where you're at in terms of amount of calls you can perform. This is an image of that spreadsheet I just referenced. This is in Excel, so it can be emailed to you, or it can be printed off. We'll go over it in more depth. I just want to give you a visual of it since we'll be referencing it in the next few slides as well. So here's some considerations when call logging as you're performing these duties. So like I said, with Excel, if the Excel document isn't working, we can upload it into Google Sheets. For those of you that are familiar with that, another option is we can print it off. The size of that document is ledger size paper, so about 11 by 17 inches. And that can be dropped off every 2 weeks at the front desk for you to pick up and drop off. That will be at our office location on Jackson Street, and our office hours are 9 to 4 Monday through Thursday, and Fridays 9 to 1. If you need evening pickup, I'm here in the evenings often. I'm more of like a second shift type person, so we can always accommodate that and do a later drop off or pickup. Those times when calls can be completed: Sunday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., Fridays, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and then also calls are not to be made on Saturdays or the upcoming high holidays. Phone number. If you are not comfortable with using your cell phone number, then what is important to take in consideration is you can use a Google Voice number, which Jessica can help you set up if you've never used Google Voice before. Or we have a couple offices for use as well that you can drop in and use at JFS if you'd like to call from a JFS number. Some considerations to keep in mind during the call. Be an active listener. So there is a script that can be, that kind of serves as a guideline, but definitely we want you to be personal and be yourself and use language and engage with the adult that you're talking to in a way that's natural to you. So use that script as a guideline for information and referrals to kind of get to that during the call at least, but really be yourself. Provide reassurance while avoid providing advice. So if you notice like you're starting to like, well, you should really talk to your doctor, maybe call your doctor's nurse. And that kind of sounds like to me, like that could be something with your kidneys. Like concern is going to be there when people open up to you about your needs, but really be careful of that line of beginning to offer advice with adults. Take notes on that spreadsheet. So during the call, this happens a lot for me during my day job here at JFS. I'll get involved in projects, might have calls back to back. And then even like 30 minutes or 60 minutes later, when I go back to make notes on a calls a couple of, moments ago, I won't quite remember the nature of what it is that person requested. So do your best to complete notes per call before engaging in the next one. Also be mindful to reduce any background noise. So if you have someone in the next room watching television, if you have animals that like to say hello to all the friendly neighbors walking by the front window, be mindful of where you are performing your calls, and that background noise might be an issue for some of the adults that we're talking to. Someone was an audiologist last night and also brought up the rate of speech and the tone of speech. So I'm talking at a clipped rate right now, going through things pretty quick, but when we're talking to adults on the phone, we might want to slow down a little bit, reduce our tone, so people can hear us, that kind of thing. So at the end of the call, again, complete any additional information on that call batch spreadsheet. There's an area for call length in minutes, how long the call lasted. Services referred, there's little check boxes for the information you provided. There's a place where you can make a note about services that were needed but are not available, meaning they weren't on the list of services that we're sharing. And then any concerns on the notes page, which I'll show you. At the end of the call, email Jessica if needs are not met. So if you're taking note of things that were not available, one might be, I need someone to be able to go pick up my prescriptions and I don't have a family member or friend that can do that, or I need help getting to medical appointments. So transportation is not an option of services that are on the script. Email Jessica any needs that an older adult lets you know they have, but is not on the script. Also email Jessica if the adult mentioned they need or would prefer to be contacted rather than write down the phone number. That way Jessica can email the different service points to reach out to that adult. And then as things come up that are non-emergency, really consider attending the biweekly consultations. We're also going to offer ongoing training as emerging issues and patterns present as a way of being able to support you all during this project. So about emergencies. When talking with older adults, there is a possibility that you might happen to call on a day where they're able to answer the phone, but in the middle of the call, they might be having some sort of medical or health emergency. If the person is responsive, if they are not in apparent distress, they're still responsive, meaning they're engaged, they're talkative, it is best to encourage them to, as soon as you kind of hear that, to have them contact 911 so that they can stay engaged with the dispatcher on the phone, so the dispatcher can do their job to try to coordinate getting help to them. If it so happens that the person having the medical emergency is non-responsive, meaning abruptly yells out, or you can hear that they are in some sort of distress medically, but they're not responsive, meaning they're not able to speak with you, then the person that you need to contact is Dustin Klein with the Federation. And this is Dustin's cell phone number that was set up specifically for medical emergencies with this project. So that number is only to be used as a way of paging Dustin so that he can respond to get the physical address of that person. So that you can contact 911 and provide that address. So it's really important just to use it for that so that Dustin knows that it's an emergency and he's prompt to reply. If for whatever reason Dustin is not able to respond, first contact Jessica, leave a message with him, then hang up and call Jessica. If Jessica is not able to respond, Jessica's part-time, works 20 hours, but does have her phone on her frequently. If for whatever reason she is unable to respond, is engaged in something else, then call me. That is also my cell phone number. Leave a message at each point of contact, just to improve the likelihood that we'll get back to you promptly. If you suspect elder abuse, and we'll go over that a little bit, contact Jessica. You can call her or leave a message and contact her within 2 days, ideally. Jessica can then provide some consultation, talk you through kind of what you're concerned is going on, and maybe even make a report to Adult Protective Services in order to help the older adult. And if there's a non-emergency issue, again, consider attending that bi-weekly outreach consultation for outreach callers. It'll be the second and fourth Thursday of the month, 3 p.m. 3 p.m. tentative now. There was some feedback yesterday that 3 p.m. on a Thursday is a little bit too early. We're looking at moving that to 5 p.m. You will receive that confirmation yet this week for what the time is, and the Zoom link as well following the training. But that's the second and fourth Thursday of the month. So let's talk a little bit about elder abuse. So as employees, so myself and Jessica, we are mandated reporters when it comes to suspecting that an older adult is being abused. As volunteers of this program as well, when you suspect that something might be going on, and you just now you should discuss it with us so that we can bring it to our attention, and you should place it in our hands to determine what we need to do, both within state regulations in terms of our mandated reporting requirements, and also in order to get that person help, even if it's potentially not within mandated reporting requirements. How you might know that someone is being abused, or that you need to talk to us about that suspicion, is if an older adult specifically says that they've experienced it. So they report that a family member or a caretaker has struck them, has harmed them. They report sexual abuse. They explicitly state that something is happening to them. Financial exploitation is another one. If they state that people are taking their money when they come over, or that they're not being taken care of, even though they receive Social Security income. If you suspect or they specifically state it, come to us. If you get the sense that something is going on, write down those observations while you're on the call, and then also reach out to Jessica to share the facts of the observations that you had that caused you to feel suspicious that something might be going on. Also, another way to do report is if someone says it, like, I need help, can you please contact the authorities? You know, my son-in-law continues to berate me, to yell at me, to do these things. I don't know where to go for help. Can you please do it? If someone explicitly states, I need your help with something, even if it's something that you don't think is the threshold for abuse, that is cause for you to reach out to us as well, so that we can, so again, you can place that in our hands, and that so we can do something with that with Adult Protective Services. How to report that? If it's a situation in which law enforcement needs to be involved immediately or medical attention, someone is hurt falling down if someone shoved them down, they could have internal physical injury, or they're reporting pain, or there's something happening over the phone. That's a situation in which you would refer to the emergency procedure, contact Dustin for the address, and let law enforcement know what's going on. If it's not an emergency, reach out to Jessica as soon as you can. You can reach out to Jessica by calling her phone number. You can also email her. There is a vulnerable adult referral form that you can use to put down all of the information that you have. Emailing that form to Jessica also fulfills your obligation to inform us of what's going on. And as I said previously, Jessica will be available to set up a time to talk, go over your concerns, and then Jessica consults with me and we determine what course of action we need to take. And after that, after you consult with Jessica, then you've fulfilled your obligation. If you'd like to know what ended up happening, we can inform you if that's helpful. And if you also need support following witnessing or being exposed to abuse of an older adult, please don't hesitate to let us know that too. We can support you collegially after that. Other special considerations while on these calls, participants may not be in immediate crisis or danger, but there might be something going on where you feel that there might be some vulnerability going on. Examples of that are an older adult that states that they're just depressed, they're sad, they don't want to be here anymore, they don't get what the reason for all this is anymore. They explicitly state you that they've been feeling quite depressed and have been thinking about harming themselves in some way or misusing medication, or things like memory issues, dementia, some cognitive decline going on. If it's a non-emergency, and if you really are picking up that there is some more serious issues potentially going on, again, you can reach out to Jessica to consult. Keep in mind that we have at JFS a late life counseling program where older adults who are 60 years or older, so quite young actually, are eligible for free mental health services up to 10 sessions in order to assess what's going on, clarify, a diagnosis, meaning is it depression, is it potentially early cognitive decline, and do some brief case management as well to get them into service. Jessica also is a dementia care specialist. So reach out to Jessica if you are concerned about any potential dementia going on to consult. There are resources at Milwaukee County. There's resources also Washington, Ozaukee County, Waukesha County, within Aging and Disability Resource Centers. There's dementia care options, in addition to some memory loss options at Ovation, which is mentioned on your script. And again, this would be a good situation or a good example of when you would attend a biweekly consultation to go over this with the group as well. Some other call considerations, non-emergency, call rescheduling. So you might call someone, it might be their dinner time, or you might catch or pick up during the call that you're calling them at a bad time, offer to reschedule. So before saying, oh, I'll let you go, offer to reschedule them at a time and kind of get when they might be available. That'll improve the likelihood of a successful second contact. Dementia concerns, so specifically signs that you might see are things like during the call, the person isn't able to engage. They kind of parrot or say the same phrase over and over again, like, oh yeah, that's nice. Oh yeah, that's nice. When it also circumstantially doesn't really fit the question. Vague answers or just in general forgetfulness. So might need to clarify a couple times what's the nature of the call. You know, you have to say a few times, oh, again, I'm a volunteer from the Federation giving you a call just to check in. So things like that are signs that, and moments where you might make the decision to bring Jessica in. Ending calls, so this might happen as well. Older adults, including ourselves, this past year have really been needing more social connection than we've been getting. So it might be that you could talk for 2 hours with them, you know. If you're in a situation where you've accomplished the objective of the call, you've even like socialized a bit, connected for a bit, and the call is just going on, reaching 60 minutes, 70 minutes, you know, and you have a few more people you'd like to be able to provide that service to, it's okay to end the call. A nice soft closing to end the call could sound something like, you know, I've really had a lovely time talking with you. I really think that this program, Friendly Calls, might be a good fit for you. Is it okay if I pass your information along to Kat, who is our intake coordinator for Friendly Calls program? That would be an opportunity for that older adult to get into ongoing telephone reassurance calls beyond this one outreach call. Which you all are eligible as well to participate in ongoing calls through the Friendly Calls program. For the purpose of these call batches you're getting, those calls are a bit more designed to be a single point of contact. Not to say that once you connect with an older adult, you want to be their Friendly Calls volunteer. In that case, let Jessica know that you're going to be retaining some of your outreach calls for ongoing social supports, just so we know how to track your time and not give you too many outreach calls, new people to call. Okay. I want to pause before we go into report forms and review this to see if we have any questions. Came up. Feel free to, I have one question here. What if they ask specific questions? What is a polite way to shut them down about that? Can you give me an example of a specific question that might come up that you might not know the answer to and need to, you can unmute yourself. Let me see. Something, okay. Yeah, if they want to know something, well, have you ever experienced this? Have you ever, if the person is asking you personal questions, what is a nice way to kind of turn the focus back around to them? So if someone's asking me a personal question like, well, you must be married, you must have kids, you must know what it's like, or anything personal, and something I do nice is like, well, I know, yeah, I get what you're saying, it can be difficult. In what way has it impacted you? You know, so just reflect the question right back out, back to them. Say, yeah, you know, I can understand that. You know, it can be hard with older adult kids, but in what way has it impacted you? You know, it sounds like you might be feeling more isolated or more, try to reflect it back to them. If the caller has doubts about who we really are, I just continue to reiterate, you know, that we're here to help. I'm a volunteer with the Federation. If you want to end the call, that's okay. Can I give you our phone number in case you do have needs in the future? We don't have to keep people on the phone. If there's suspicion or there's doubt, just say, kind of read the room a bit and say, well, you know, it's been really nice. Thank you for taking the time today. Let me give you our outreach coordinator's number just in case you do have needs in the future. You can mark that as a successful attempt. Maybe make a note of it. You know, was suspicious, so Jessica knows, but then email Jessica, that that the person didn't want the service or didn't want the call. You can also just put that in the note on your call batch. If they insist on wanting to get advice, just really let them know that's not what I'm here to do. I don't want to tell you exactly what to do, but I can provide you with some information and phone numbers. If you're looking for advice for how to deal with this, let's say hypothetically, family conflict or health issue, let me give you the phone number for JFS. I know that they have some great therapists there that could help with this as well, something like that. So gently say no and refer back to services. How many times do we call back if we don't get a first call? And this final question. This is a good segue into the call batch report form. Short answer, twice. Call once, and then you call another time. And after 2 attempts of no answer, that's it. Then you're done with that particular caller, and you mark those attempts on the call batch sheet. Let me just bring that up. I'm going to stop share. So you're about to see everyone's faces.
And while you're bringing that up, can I just throw out a question that was asked yesterday as well?
Sounds good.
Yesterday, a lot of the volunteers asked, well, what if I know the person that I'm calling? And what do we do in a situation like that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a good question. It's very likely that you're going to get the name of somebody that in the case that you come across someone, you recognize the name, you recognize the number. Well, we're in cell phone age, so maybe you don't recognize the number, but as soon as you pick up, you're like, oh, Jessica, or oh, Sharon. Okay. My first piece of advice on that is kind of read the room. What's that like when you both notice that you know one another and you introduce yourself as a volunteer, but also you know them? State why you're calling. Say, oh, I'm volunteering with the Federation. We're doing outreach calls to adults. If you sense some discomfort either on your acquaintances part of things or on your side of things, just let them know. And just don't let them know you feel uncomfortable. Let them know that I'm just calling to do an outreach call. Would you be interested in hearing about services? I can have someone reach out to you. So if it's uncomfortable, just let them know that someone will be reaching out to them. And then email Jessica the name and phone number and ID number of the person that you want to refer to another volunteer to call. If you are comfortable with it, certainly keep the call going, and then also ask. Just say, like, would it be okay if we talk about services available, or ask them, would you prefer to talk to somebody else? Just in case they are going to disclose something about like feeling a little bit isolated, feeling maybe even a little bit depressed. Ask them explicitly if they would like someone else to call them after you explain the nature of your call. If they say, yeah, that's okay, and you know them, it's okay. I mean, it's still confidential. If you see them again, like at a family get together, technically it's still supposed to be confidential. Don't share with the family anything that came up. So make sure that you know that you can keep the conversation confidential. If you know that's going to be an issue for you to hold on to something without telling other people, then definitely refer it to another volunteer. Okay. Here is what that spreadsheet looks like that we've referred to. And this is what will be right in front of you when you're doing your calls. So this is someone who had the capacity, they thought, to get to around 20 potential calls within a 2-week period. They said they could volunteer about 5 to 7 hours a week to start. And so this is what their call batch looks like. When they got it, the top part is filled out with the name, the call batch number, and this is for Jessica, so make sure not to change that, and the date it was assigned. And then these blue columns right here come already filled out. The rest of the sheet will come to you blank. When you're doing your calls, you mark the date you're making that call, the length of time it took, and then you mark off any information and services that you provided to that adult as you go. You make note of any need that was not addressed. So a need that was expressed, but that didn't fit any of the services mentioned on the call script. And then here's where you track, just for your own tracking purposes, your first attempt and your second attempt. This is also for you to kind of look at. So with Normal over here, I tried calling Norma Thursday the 18th at 5 p.m. and I didn't get through to Norma. So now I might try Sunday at noon on my second attempt, try a different time. That's another way to use your call attempt. Once you've tried twice, then you're good. And you'll be leaving a message at least one of these attempts. Leave a message. So here I am talking to George, just typing in, talking to George on Friday the 19th. George responded. I spoke with him briefly. I got him right before dinner though. And he said, what would be really nice is some help with tech. So HMT, and I'll show you the key. So I gave him the number for Jordan to help with tech. He didn't have any additional needs. And that's the end of how I logged that call. This key right here, services referred, I'm going to scroll down. All of this information is on your call script that was emailed out to you, but it's also here just as another place to have it right in front of you. So these are all of the services that are available within the community that we're going to offer some phone number and contact information on. So just needed help setting up Zoom ahead of a JCC program that he registered himself for. So he's going to call Jordan, and I gave him Jordan's number and I marked that I provided that. The back, so down here, for those of you who are going to use Excel, the other side of the call batch is additional comments. So there's a small space on the front of the form or the main page to describe needs not addressed. So Miriam, who I called on Thursday, said she needed transportation. I'm being a little bit more specific now about how that call went. She needed transportation to medical appointments. I was really picking up that she wasn't being adequately cared for, even though she lives at home with her daughter, who is her family care, which is a program that some family members participate in, her aide. But Miriam doesn't sound like she's being taken care of very much by her daughter. And so I ended up completing that vulnerable adult referral form that we'll cover and emailing it to Jessica. This area right here is a lot for yourself too. If you're kind of cruising through phone calls in like a 2-hour shift that you set up for yourself, this is a way to kind of capture the notes when you're all done in a 1 week or 2 week period so that you know what you need to do. It's also a good place to kind of, I put this here. When I was talking to Adam's just 67. Adam had a great sense of humor. I thought it was really funny because we had a good laugh. When I was like, he's like, why is the Federation calling adults? I'm like, well, we're calling adults who are 65 years and older to see if you need anything. Adam took fake offense to that and feels very young. It doesn't feel, he's happy to get the call, happy the Federation is putting this together. But I thought that was a really funny kind of part of the call, and I wanted to put that in there. So you can put anecdotal information in here too as a way of logging your experience as well. All right. What if someone needs help registering to get a COVID vaccine? I'm going to go back now to the front page. The call script has that information, as does this. If someone needs help, it depends on where they live right now. So I have Milwaukee and the WOW counties, the Ozaukee, Washington, and Waukesha registration information. So for Milwaukee County, they're going to call this number to register. This is Milwaukee County's COVID hotline number to register for a vaccination. Unfortunately, Ozaukee and Washington do not have a hotline number. You can go to their website and they have a PDF list of all the different pharmacies in Washington and Ozaukee County where COVID vaccines are being offered right now to adults 65 years and older. So you'd have to reference the website. Waukesha County also has a hotline. So if the older adult resides in Waukesha County, they can go here. If they have a primary care doctor, you can also have them reach out to their primary care doctor, especially for those Ozaukee and Washington County folks. You might need to refer them to their doctor. If navigating a website to open up a PDF to find a pharmacy is too much. Look at one more question before we move on. Yeah. Would you anticipate the potential of connecting with someone other than the original person intended, like a spouse or friend? If they are engaged and could use our services, do we reciprocate? I would say yes. I mean, the way that the call script starts off is, hi, this is Anne calling. Is this Krista? Do I have Krista? So you ask the person to identify them based on their first name. It's possible, though, that they might say, Krista's not available. How can I help? Oh, I'm a volunteer calling with the Milwaukee Jewish Federation, just trying to reach out and see how you all are doing, especially Krista. We're reaching out to adults who are older who might need some assistance. That family member might take some of this information too. I would consider that call complete. But if you have, I would consider that call complete. If anything feels odd though about the call, try calling the older adult again or ask the family member, is there a better time where I can reach Krista? If for whatever reason, just something feels wrong, like the person feels disingenuous, because we do want to try to call to the contact the adult themselves to express their own needs as much as possible.
And Anne, real quick before we move off this, we had a question about leaving callback numbers on the voicemails.
Yeah. So as an option, you can leave your own personal number. What we are recommending that volunteers do is when you leave that one voicemail during one of your 2 attempts, we're recommending you leave Jessica's number, just because maybe you'll call a night owl and not know it, and you'll get a 3 a.m. call back, and now your cell phone number's out there. For the most part, it would be like benevolent, but you might get calls when you don't want them. If that's your procedures, always to leave your phone number. If you want to do that anyway, we're okay with that. But as an option, leave Jessica's number, which is in this training and will be in your volunteer handbook as well. All right. Now I'm going to bring up, I also referenced, your relevant. So that was a call batch spreadsheet. I referenced the vulnerable adult referral form as well. Oops, sorry, y'all. Let me bring that up. So this is a Word document form that you can use. When we mail out your volunteer handbook, there will be some blank forms of these as well if you would prefer not to email them. What it looks like is this. You put the date you're filling the form out right here. You put your name, your phone number, your email. You put the first name of the individual that you're concerned about from your call batch and their ID number, which is also in that call batch spreadsheet, their phone number, and then the date you called them, where you had the conversation where stuff came up where you were concerned. Briefly using facts, using observations, describe a situation right here. At this point, if you email this to Jessica, you fulfilled your obligation to inform us that you have some concerns. You can also choose to call her to go over the form together, and then drop it off at JFS or email it to us later. If you have reason to concern, if the vulnerability is not about dementia, not about potential early cognitive decline, if you're using the vulnerable adult report form because of suspected abuse or neglect, we do ask that you complete this within 2 days of your call. From there, Jessica and I consult and we determine what we need to do. Okay. The third and final form that you will use as part of your volunteer experience here will be the monthly timesheet. Keep this right with your call batch. This is what it looks like. It's a Word document, so you can just type this all in. The date, time, and hours that you volunteered, type in your name or write it in here and the month, and then mark off, and it's just more like a courtesy to you. Did you log all your calls for that day? So before you kind of are done volunteering for the day, did you finish all the details? Oh, black square is up again. Sorry about the black square in my screen. Let me try again. Can you mostly see the screen in the form as a, nope, not at all.
Nope, it blocked it for at one point.
All right, let me do this one more time. Zoom updated. This is wonderful. Sorry, y'all. Try it one more time. If it happens again, you'll have to trust me that this form is intuitive.
There you go. That looks good.
Here you go. Okay.
Thank you.
In your volunteer handbook that we're mailing out to you all, there's also going to be some blank forms of these as well. So you can drop it off at the front desk, or you can fax it to us, or you can email it to us, whatever the easiest way is to get this information to us. You return it to Jessica, and all of the information for how to return this form is right down here. If you'd like to mail it in, we can give you, Adrian at the front desk will have some self-addressed stamped envelopes for you as well to pick up. So you can just mail it in to us. So this is the third form that you're going to be using. All right. Don't see any questions out there. So to the main event. So your call script. Oh, I see a question before we go on. What do we got? All righty. We need you to complete a timesheet. So the reason why we're having you all complete timesheet is because your hours, the number of volunteer hours are being reported back to the Federation and are considered in-kind hours because we're a nonprofit, a 501c3. So being able to capture how many hours of volunteerism that is being provided to the community within the agency, and also report that back to the Federation in terms of showing like what this project they're funding, the impact, overall impact. Volunteer hours is a key part of impact in addition to the calls and the people we're reaching. So that's why we're asking you to complete this. And you'll note that the call batch spreadsheet also had the length of the call, but your time in between. So you finished a call, it's 30 minutes long, but maybe you spent some time taking notes. Maybe you spent some time reviewing other documents. Maybe you spent some time looking into something or emailing Jessica. All that counts for time as well, not just your time engaged in providing the calls. Your downtime or your communications with Jessica count. Attending the biweekly consultation group counts in terms of your volunteer hours. So that's why there's a timesheet in addition to the length of the call and the call batch. All right. All right, so you all received the outreach call script in email. If you did not, please let us know, put that in chat if you have not received an email from Krista that had the outreach calls script attached. It would have been in your reminder email for this training. I'm going to bring it up right now, and Krista and I are going to role model a little bit, role play how this conversation can go. Give me a heads up if you see those black squares again. Can you see the outreach call script? Yes, great. So Krista, are you ready? You'll have to unmute. There you go.
Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna drop the script. I can like drop it in the Zoom chat.
Oh, there you go.
So you guys can look at it that way. Also, I will apologize if I did not have you pre-registered for this training. I did not know you were attending, so thus you do not have the Zoom script. So that would be a reason, but let me go ahead here and see if I ever actually downloaded it to my computer. All right, so
No
as
problem.
soon as that goes, everyone will have it.
Sounds good. Yeah. So, and outreach call script. Oh, thank you.
Perfect.
Very good.
There, it worked. So yes, I'm ready to be your older adult now.
Sounds good. Okay. And we are 1 hour into the training. We have a half hour left. We're doing wonderful. I really appreciate you all hanging in there for the content heavy part of the training. Over the next 30 minutes, we're going to be focusing on the actual call. So the actual script. So right now we're going to do just a role play of how that call might go with an older adult. And then we are going to also break out into rooms so that you all can practice together. Hopefully, and we're breaking out in groups of 3. Ideally, one of you will have access to the script and can pull that up on another device, or maybe you registered ahead and you're able to print off the script or have it handy. So while I'm doing that, if you want to pay attention, but also see if you can't pull up that script for the breakout rooms, that's all right as well. Okay. Are you ready, Krista?
I am ready.
Moment. Okay. All righty. So ring, ring.
Hello,
Hi, this is Ann. Do I have Krista?
this is she.
Hi, Krista. I'm a volunteer calling from the Milwaukee Jewish Federation. I'm calling and reaching out just to see how you're doing. We know times have been pretty challenging for many people in our community, so just wanted to call and check in with you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And something else, that the reason we're doing this, because especially during this COVID pandemic, we've heard from several adults that times are understandably have been pretty challenging. So if that's all right with you, just wanted to take the time to connect with you and see how we may be of assistance.
Yeah, I've got a couple minutes before I head out. I've got some time for you.
Okay, great. So I mentioned that times have been challenging for a lot of us. For you particularly, have there been any specific challenges that you're facing right now?
What would you consider a challenge?
Good question. Sometimes people have been feeling more isolated than normal, just due to lockdown or social distancing. We've heard that. We've heard for some people it's hard to get out because programs are not meeting anymore, or services aren't being offered, that kind of thing.
Well, I did used to go to programs at the J a lot, but now they're virtual and I don't know how to do that at all.
Got it. Okay. So would you be interested in attending a virtual program at the J if you could figure that part out?
Yeah, I would love to do that. And I know they send out the links and they say it's supposed to be easy, but it's just not working for me.
I hear you. I hear you. I've been doing this a lot this past year too, Krista. So, well, let me see if I can't help you with that. Do you have someone in your family, a friend or family that can help you with that?
I mean, my kids pop over now and then, but they're always so busy, so I don't want to bother them with it.
Got it. Okay. So actually, Krista, we do have some different things that we can do to help. So you can attend those the programming at the J.
Mm-hmm.
We have some college age students through the Hillel that are volunteering to help adults get connected to Zoom, to these virtual events. What they would do is they would give you a call and kind of walk you through, give you that technology support to kind of walk through how to get connected to Zoom. Is that something you'd be interested in?
That would be great. Do I have to pay for it?
No, it's free. You do not.
Well, let's get me signed up.
Yes. And don't let those college students say pay me either. And if they do, call Ann. No, it's completely free. Completely free. Jordan is who you're going to call. Do you have a pen and a piece of paper?
Normally I would, but I don't at the moment.
That is okay. So another option is it all right if I share your name and phone number with Jordan so that he can reach out to help?
And he'll just give me a call directly?
He'll give you a call directly. That's right.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
Yep. Great. Great. And when he calls, he'll identify himself as, oh, Ann, the Federation volunteer told me you're interested in tech help. So he'll identify himself when he calls.
Okay, perfect. Because I'll probably have forgotten this conversation in a couple minutes.
Yeah, I totally understand. That's fine. And then as well, if you'd like, Rachel Pressman at the J, who is in charge of different adult programming there, She could give you a call as well or reach out to offer you some information about some programming that they're offering.
I don't think I need that. I get their newsletters and I
Okay.
see their stuff in the paper, so I know about it. I just can't get to it.
Sounds good. Okay. Well, then I will definitely have Jordan reach out to you. Give it maybe it's Thursday, so maybe sometime like by midweek, he'll be reaching out to you.
That would be fine.
Okay, great. Anything else? Has anything else been challenging or any services you felt like you've been needing just aren't around? Or any, yeah.
I don't think so. I think that's, been my pretty much main challenge. We're hooked up to, my kids got me on the grocery delivery, so that's covered.
Okay, good.
So I think just kind of getting into those, because that was a big part of my life before, this lockdown happened.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Okay. Well, then I will be sure to get your contact information to Jordan, and he'll be reaching out by next week.
Okay, sounds great.
And then also another question, they're starting vaccines for adults as well. Do you need information on the vaccine and how to sign up?
Yeah. Do you have that available for me?
Yes. What county do you live in?
I live in Waukesha County.
Okay. So can you take this following number down for me?
Yep. Let me just go get a piece of paper.
Sounds good. That you didn't have before. Just kidding.
I found it.
Good.
All right. Go ahead.
Okay. All right, Krista. Waukesha County, it is 262
Uh-huh.
548
Uh-huh.
7626. That is their hotline number to register. Let them know your age and that you're interested in information to sign up for the vaccine.
Okay, perfect. I will definitely give them a call right away.
Very good. Awesome. Well, I've had a nice time talking with you so far. I'm glad we were able to help. Would it be helpful to chat for a little bit?
I've actually got to get going. But maybe we could do it a different time.
Sure, absolutely. Are you interested in kind of having ongoing chats and calls with someone?
Yeah, I, wouldn't mind having a friend that I talk to about, every couple weeks. It's always nice to get in touch with people.
Sounds good. I can email the person to reach out to you. That person's name is Kat. Would you like me to email that Kat so she reaches out to you, or I can give you the number?
Why don't you have Kat reach out to me?
Okay, you got it. So then both Jordan and Kat will be reaching out to you probably within the next week, Krista, for tech help, and then also set up some friendly calls.
Perfect.
Okie doke.
Thank
All
you
right.
so much, Anne.
Yeah, thank you for your time. I've had a lovely time talking with you. You take care, okay?
You too. All
Okay.
right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Krista. All right.
And just answering one of the questions that
Yep.
was asked during that role play, which was awesome.
Mhm.
Isn't it weird to start asking questions before connecting? I just like to point out that the main focus of these calls, the friendly chats, is more of the connecting on a weekly basis. This is more reaching out, wellness checks, seeing if there's any needs that need to be met, etc. And then at the end, if there's time, if a person you're calling feels as though they still want to connect a little bit, that's when it kind of gets into more personal questions. How's your day? What are you up to? Things like that.
Yeah. And you can, if you sense distrust, follow the lead of the person that you're talking to. I wouldn't assume distrust, but you can sense distrust. Like, huh? Why are you calling? If you sense distrust, then pause, and address that. And then, yes, then connect with the person, use your natural intuition to connect with them. But the way that Krista started the call was when I introduced myself and why I was calling, she said, "Oh, that's lovely. Yes, I have time." So I introduced myself and the purpose of the call, and she was agreeable to that. So I didn't need to take the time to connect further. If she had been distrustful, I could say, would a different time, I could read that a lot of different ways. I can call you back at a different time if now is inconvenient. Would it be helpful to kind of talk a little bit first? You can kind of get to know the reason why I'm calling, and so I can hear how you're doing. And then you can jump down to question 4 as a strategy. But I would assume if they're saying that, yep, it's okay to continue with the call, to follow that lead of the adult you're talking to. So the first 2 pages are the script, so to say, the guidelines for continuing with the call. The rest of your call script are resources.
And we do have a couple other questions,
Okay.
which you'll probably get into this here, but if somebody asks a question about getting connected with a doctor or do need help getting groceries, like those things that aren't covered in our resources here.
You got it. I will make sure to get to that, and then we'll go to breakout room shortly.
Mhm.
So the resources on the rest of your script are an optional voicemail script that you can leave. It says guidelines. Some reminders pulled from this training and from your volunteer handbook, including what to do if they are describing that they have symptoms of COVID or other health issues. Refer them back to their primary care doctor. Don't give health directives. Say, that sounds like I can't tell you what to do, but sounds like you need to talk to your primary care doctor. So information again on medical emergencies. Scams are a particular thing that older adults sometimes are vulnerable to. There are different places you can call in terms of the Aging and Disability Resource Centers will help with older adults who have been the victim of a scam. Elder abuse, neglect, and exploitation. Here's Jessica's number right here on your call script again in her email. For these 2, in terms of someone's been a victim of a scam, has been exploited, or elder abuse, this is a good transition then into this resource. So there are descriptions of all of the services that are in question 2 in terms of services available. There's more fleshed out descriptions here. We have an advocate who provides free support to older adults who are victims of elder abuse or of a scam or other financial exploitation, who is Brianna. So letting Jessica know, this person did say they want support following, being a victim of a scam. That means Jessica would take that and give that older adult's information to Brianna so she can reach out to support. Description of friendly calls is here as well. The J's programming is here, and the J help, so financial assistance as an option. Late life counseling, that's formal psychotherapy, brief 10 sessions, that's free of charge. Mensch text through the Hallel, college age students. So make sure they know their college age was something that came up last night. Not high school students, they're adult students who can call and provide tech help. Ovation's memory loss programming, supports to individuals and to families. The information is here. And an online grief support group, which shortly will probably be going in person. I'll update you all on that, but for now it's virtual. All of the service descriptions are in full on your script for your reference. All right, I'm going to address the questions real quick. Yep, okay. If you have difficulty understanding the call recipient, do your best to capture as much information as possible. Slow down. Ask follow-up questions. Worst case scenario, if you're concerned about them, they sound in distress, and their primary language is something other than English, reach out to Jessica. Ask them what their primary language is. We do have Language Source, which is a translation and interpretation services at JFS. We can put a third person on the call. So if you're reaching out to someone whose primary language is Russian, you don't speak Russian, their grasp of English for the purpose of the call is not great, let Jessica know, but do ask them what their primary language is. Otherwise, just slow down, take your time. Okay. All righty. I'm going to stop share. We're at about 1:15. So, okay, for the next 10 minutes, we're going to do breakout rooms. You're going to break out into groups of 3, where one of you is going to be the volunteer caller, one of you is going to role play the call recipient, and then one person observing. Go through the script just once, and then if you get through it within 10 minutes, go ahead and have a small group discussion. You'll get a message from me when I'm about to bring you back in a minute. So you just don't get sucked all of a sudden back into the main group without a prompt. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 people. We're going to do 4 breakout rooms. So it'll be a couple, 1 or 2 groups of 4. So it'll be 2 observers in a couple groups. All right, I will see you back in about 10 minutes. You'll get a pop-up to click in order to break out into your room. All righty, welcome back everyone. So how did it go? Any questions, any comments? How are you feeling? Thumbs up? Okay, good, wonderful.
We had, I didn't know if you were going to ask for feedback at all. We had an interesting scenario that played out in our group, and you will totally laugh, Anne, considering how much involvement I've had in this. But I was the recipient of the phone call, and when I quote unquote picked up the phone and someone said, "Hi, hi Louise, I'm a volunteer from the Milwaukee Jewish Federation, calling to da da da," I said, "I already gave money." And we kind of all laughed, but we realized that it's really important to get out there beyond just I'm a volunteer from the Milwaukee Jewish Family, on behalf of working with Jewish Family Services to conduct friendly call programs. It's got to be out there faster, or people may be going, "Oh no, they want money." And I literally said, "I already gave." So it was just interesting to obviously be in that role play situation.
Absolutely. Yes. And this is a good example of where it's okay, like as you're doing this, and this is the first like coordinated outreach call for services campaign that we've done, not like call campaign for donors. So it makes sense that there might be that reaction at the beginning. This is the first time we've done this for services like this with volunteers. So as you're going and as you're noticing this, if this happens 2-3 times, adjust your script. That's a guideline. Adjust that script, adjust the warm welcome to identify that more quickly if you're noticing, okay. And then let us know, let Jessica and I know, hey, I adjusted the script in this way and I'm getting less like suspicion or less, I've already donated responses. So absolutely. Yeah, it's a good point.
And a question that I kind of came up with, but we kind of talked about too, I noticed personally being a volunteer with the Friendly Chat program, and this is also a question that came up yesterday. What if the person that we're calling asks, "Well, where did you get my info from?" And then you tell them a basic answer, but they go, "Yeah, but I don't understand. Like, how did you exactly get it?" What is the appropriate way to respond to that?
From the Federation.
Okay.
Yeah. As a participant in the Federation, this is your connection, due to your connection with the Federation.
Okay.
Yep.
One other thing, and I apologize, that I brought up that I think I threw my collar, is that this program was covered in this month's Chronicle towards the end, that it indicates that older adults may receive phone calls in an effort to make people feel more comfortable if someone were to call because of the whole scam issue. So if someone says, "Oh, is this a call that was talked about in the Chronicle?" I just think it's important that we make sure that all of our volunteer recipients hear that that it was covered in the newspaper.
Sounds good. It's something else that popped up. I don't know if anyone would do this. If someone offers a donation on the phone, don't try to figure that out. Just flat out say, "Nope, not the purpose of my call." That's so nice. Reach out to the Federation, but just don't offer that at all. Even if they're insisting. I mean, if they're insisting, like, this was so nice, like, can I donate to help you all out? Just say, that's not the purpose of this call. I don't know how that would work. Really make sure you're only coming off the service oriented. Refer them back to the Federation if they're interested. But just so it purely stays with a focus on them and supporting them. All right, next steps. Here's what we are, your next steps will be now that you've completed this training. We're ending in the next minute. So if you have additional questions, try to put those in the chat. I have a way to save all of the questions and make sure that, that we get to and respond to those that we weren't able to in training over email. So go ahead and put any additional questions in chat. And then following the training, here is what we're asking you to do. reach out to Jessica, our outreach coordinator, to set up preferences. So your call capacity, your spreadsheet preference, if you want to use Excel or have it printed off. Please do that within the next week, and ask any additional questions as well that you need in order to feel prepared. We also will be sending a post-training email out that has that request and her email in it as well. Complete and return all paperwork needed. So we need to have all of your volunteer paperwork completed before we can send you call information, people's information. So Krista is the person to do that with. Krista is also the person who will be emailing you the follow-up email following today's training. Go over, review the call batch spreadsheet. There'll be a blank copy that comes to you in the mail with your volunteer handbook. Go over the call script. Get yourself a little bit more used to the contents of the script so you feel a little bit more prepared for the 17th. Feel free to attend the biweekly consultation. If these 90 minutes didn't feel enough, please feel free to pop on to our first biweekly consultation next week, Thursday, the 11th at 3 p.m. Keep a heads up for a possible change in time, as some people have indicated later might be better. Of course, that was the evening crew last night. Some people said that evening might be better. And then you will get over email or dropped off at the front desk your first list of calls beginning around Wednesday the 17th, maybe Thursday the 18th, pending us getting everything together back from the volunteers. Okay. I really appreciate you all joining us. I really deeply appreciate you all volunteering in this endeavor. I said this earlier in the training, and I mean it when this has been the most inspiring direct service project that we have done this past year during the pandemic. And I'm really glad that you all are going to be a part of this and help us fulfill this obligation to the adults in our community. I will stay on a little bit later if you do have additional questions. But for now, look for that email coming up in the next couple of days. And thank you. Thank you.